Yeah, these are the Q headphones from Pioneer, which they're a little bit small in form factor, but they work great. I love
I
them.
like. I like them. I like the white. See? Yeah, we're good. Perfect now. Perfect. So how are you? How are things?
Good. I can't hear myself. Is that a problem?
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I don't hear myself.
Yeah, that's true. Things are great, bro. I'm super busy. Like, I DJ'd. Well, I'll be DJing 6 of the last 7 days, and then I DJ 5 of the next 6. So it's a lot. I got myself sick, so all the traveling is great things. It's not all flowers and butterflies to be always on the road and on an airplane and never sleeping. Like, yeah, I got myself sick. So, but I'm getting over it. I sound like crap right now, so I apologize.
I think it's the seasonal allergies too. I'm the same way. I've been waking up like all clogged up and whatnot, and that the pollen is out crazy. So,
it's terrible. And then, I mean, I'm jumping right from here over to the Philly, so we got that going on today.
What's that like, man? Congrats on that. Shouts to Nine and everybody. You guys are all like like you guys are playing in between like inning. Like what's your responsibility with the Phillies?
Yeah, so shouts to the crew like Nine and Smooth, Hollywood, Tonka, everybody associated with that. We're playing pre-game, so we play all of batting practice for the Phillies, and then they stop us for the away team because screw them. And so it's funny because yesterday, like I'm playing, and the manager Joe Girardi comes over. He's like, "Hey, can you announce batting groups for us?" So I'm like, "Yeah, Group 1, come bat." Blah blah blah. It was cool as shit. Like,
that's
not
crazy.
I was like, "Yeah." So I'm like, "All right, do that." Like, players are bobbing. The Mets walk out of the dugout and start stretching like 20 minutes before I'm about to stop. Literally like 4 players go like, "Oh shit, they got a DJ." They were so hyped. And then I'm like playing, they're stretching, and then like the away team has to take over, and they give the signal like, you cut the DJ. Like, so they like turn on Spotify and like Joe Jonas song comes on or something like that, and the Mets are like, "Oh, come on, bro!" Like, they give me like an audible disgust of like bummer, and I was like, this is hilarious."
I feel bad for the Mets because they've been through enough, but generally speaking, that's really dope. Because I know like the Chris Villa does the Arizona Diamondbacks, but that's the only other team to my Dave doesn't do a baseball team. He does football.
I think my dude Fresh does something with Tampa Bay, but I don't ever see him post about much like during the game. But then so we have a break while away team hits for batting practice, which they go eat. By the way, food's amazing at Citizens Bank Park. And then we play through a bunch of spots throughout the entire game. So like we have a call sheet that looks like Tetris. Like,
wait, you literally move setups?
Yes. So they take the tech, they move the controller up to the booth, and when it gets warm, we'll be outside in section 210. There's a flat area on a concourse, and we're going to be outside, but it gets cold at night, so they're being nice to us, and we're in the production booth upstairs, like right outside 210, and then we have a call sheet, bro. Like it looks like this. This is an example. I don't know if you can see, but it looks something like this.
Okay.
Everything in red is us, but there's like, wait, I don't know if you can even see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's
that's sick.
It's just, it looks something like that. And so every time that we're called on, it's like, all right, you have a minute here. There's a pitching change, whatever. Like, you got to go. So, and you have to learn because like we're used to playing like, okay, we got 20 minutes. You know, we have like a half hour before the game we play, like just us. But then like the spots you have during the game are very short. So like I'm starting to cue point all these records like right to the point, like right to booyah, like right at the chorus or whatever it is. Like I'm like, how am I got to get right to the juice of the song? So it's learning all that. I'm sure eventually I'll get a folder and just like start making edits, I guess. But like right now, I'm just cue pointing the heck out of everything. So it's
Are they
cool,
micromanaging what you play though, or they're kind of like free reign? Like what any guidelines at all? Like obviously like curse words, but
No, they trust us. I mean, we
Interesting.
obviously have to use clean versions, and like I'm very particular. Like if I'm like cue pointing to this part, I'll listen to it all the way out because I do not want like somebody mislabeled a track. Like I have
That
the time
happens.
now. Yeah, all the time, and I've done it on my mix show before, and have to go back and like edit the recording because I was like, God dang it, like.
yeah.
It says clean, and there's a big F-bomb in it. Like, it's like, what the heck? If I do that at the stadium, I'm fired. So it's like,
Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
want to risk it for the biscuit.
no. And I'm super paranoid about that. I'm just like, okay, Doja Cat. I don't know if I'd play Doja Cat, but I'm just like listening to everything. Like, is there a curse word in September?
Extra paranoid just in case.
There's like an ad lib in the background, like, woo, F you. You're like, whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What were they doing in the 70s?
Yeah, like really excited guy in the background in the studio I didn't hear before, so I'm like, I'm hawking the headphones. But we have a production headset too, which is
Oh,
So you
it's
ha-
sick. So the director's in your ear.
the whole time. Yeah, and so it's like they're calling out video packages, they're calling out camera cues, they're calling out all that stuff, and like you can choose like what you have in your your ears. But I usually only have the producer, but because that's really all I need to hear. But they're like somebody else does the like walk up music. That's a different person that sits next to me, but they also run like the organ, the sound effects, the claps, and all that. Like dun 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 dun. Like someone else does that. But
Yeah,
and we're-
okay, gotcha.
yeah,
they-
so like all the hype, like baseball, sports stuff. So the guy sits right next to me, or girl. They have a few people that do that, but it's cool, bro. I mean, dude, like yesterday, my entire family drove up from like all different parts of PA and like surprised
Aw.
me with a sign of a photo of my grandparents who like my grandmother just recently passed away, but they were both huge Phillies fans, and my grandmother the day she passed was watching Phillies in the afternoon hours before she passed. So I got all emotional in the booth.
Yeah,
like,
man, that's
I look
cool.
down over and they like are holding up this sign. I was like, oh my God, I'm in there like with a tear running down my face trying to play like hype music for the fans. I'm like, oh my God, something in my eye. I'm like, this is crazy. So it was cool, man. It was definitely cool. So
That's so dope.
I encourage everybody to come out and check that out. Phillies are off to a good start this year. So
I'll be there on Dollar Hot Dog Day. You bet your ass.
yeah, heck yeah.
Bro, you gotta make. I'm thinking about this now. Like, you gotta make like almost like a troll mix for the away team. Like the lowest energy started out with Barney or something. Like it's time for the Mets to come out and warm up and like just have a mix. You guys spread it around, or maybe multiple mixes depending on the team. And then just the wackest music on earth just for while they're warming up. If you could get that passed and you could do that, what an advantage! I think the Phillies would go 150-1. Like. They would sweep all the home games.
Oh my God.
Like
hell yeah.
noticeable drop in energy when they came out. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, Barney theme song would be hilarious. I love you.
They'd be like, bro, really? How am I going to warm up to this? They can't even concentrate. The teams, you'll get complaints. Like the teams, the team managers should literally be like, yo, like you can't do this. There's got to be an MLB rule.
Yeah.
Like,
The baseball operations of all of MLB was there yesterday, so I was like, oh man, like they're checking up on everything, or maybe they're just there for a visit. But I was like, oh shoot, like better be on my P's and Q's today, but they installed a speaker on the field this year just for that. The players really wanted it. They
Very
were tired
cool.
of like Ariana Grande coming on Spotify while they're warming up,
Yeah.
and that kind of kills their vibe. So they want it loud on the field. So it bumps out there, man. Big delay, so we have to have a monitor. But
True.
yeah, it's like a
That's-
second delay.
I think everything. I think it's going to spread, man. You guys killing that. Chris Vias crushing out in Arizona. With the Diamondbacks. Like I think it's just a matter of time before I mean you don't think the Mets went back? It was like, listen, it's bad enough we suck. Do we also have to not have a DJ for our home games? Can we? They're going to start before we know it. There's going to be a DJ at every stadium, kind of like they're doing with the NFL. Everything, and I saw a tweet from maybe it was a tweet. I don't know where he posted, but Rob Swift said something. He said in the beginning, the DJs were like the heartbeat of hip hop in the 70s and the 80s. We were kind of just doing what everybody said, 90s, whatever. And then now there's a DJ everywhere. You can't find an event, find a sporting event, find anything without having a DJ now. It's just, and that is so huge for our industry. I'm pumped, and I'm pumped you guys are doing it. You guys all are so good. So it's just gonna motivate other teams to kind of whine enough so they hire, and then someone else gets put on in their city. I'm pumped up about it.
I mean, I'd love to see that. I actually I got a call going to the game yesterday about doing the same thing for another sports team, and again, it was another team that was big fans of my grandparents. So either everything is just happening miraculously like that, or it's something else. But I was stoked to get this phone call yesterday, and I was like, what are the odds the first Phillies game I worked that I get a call to do this team's
what
stuff?
Team?
So
what team?
I cannot say.
Drop the news here.
No, until I sign the paperwork. But it's yeah, it has a huge fan base in the area. So
that's dope.
Yes, it's not soccer. I'll say that. So or rugby.
Well, you already. I was gonna say you
tennis.
already kind of you already eliminated all that when you said huge fan base. So yeah. Anybody watching this overseas is probably like, what do you mean? Soccer's the shit. I'm like, yeah, it's totally different
football.
around here.
It's called football, Nick.
It's football out there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, football. FUT. I broke my FUT a couple months ago.
Oh yes you did. How's that going, by the way? How's your foot? You still rocking the scooter?
No, man, I'm back to walking. I'm not I'm not a great walker yet, but I could stand, I could walk. I'm doing rehab every day. I got my exercises I do. I feel better every day. I'm on the way up. I'm ready. I'm supposed to walk in a boot, so when I leave the house, I walk in a boot. But that's why I'm back on Twitch tonight. I can now I'm good. I can stand, DJ, everything. I'm back. I'm
fire.
Pumped. So
yeah,
slowly, man. By summertime, I'll be good to go. Another couple weeks, honestly.
Sweet.
I'm excited. So
well, get ready.
Yeah, that's right. It's gonna be a big year, sir. Big year, sir. What are your origin story? So where are you from exactly? Outside of Philly, or where'd you grow up and stuff?
I grew up in Hershey in central Pennsylvania. So
oh, okay, so you're from out there.
Yeah, and then
off of 422.
Yeah, I lived in Harrisburg for a while, and then moved to Philly 12 years ago, something like that. And then a couple spots in Philly, and just excuse me, that's that crap I have. Just got a place on the other side of PA Delaware line. So pull out of my neighborhood. I go from Delaware to Philadelphia basically in that short of time. But
why Delaware? Is it cheaper?
Yes. Property taxes, no sales tax. And also I can get on 95. We're on the other side of the city now. Before, you have to go on 76 and you have to battle all the city traffic if you're trying to get to Jersey or anything else. So I was like, we got to fix this problem. So now I can get on 95 in literally 3 minutes, and I can go up to New York in 2 hours, to Jersey, Maryland, DC. Airport is 20 minutes tops to my house, which I go to frequently. So that's all on this side of Philadelphia. So, if you're looking at a map, it's the east side of Philadelphia, not the other side. So that's why. Plus, when you're buying overpriced gas, shipping a lot of equipment and buying all that, tax-free stuff, it saves you a lot of bucks. I just bought a brand new MacBook that I'm waiting for. The maxed out. I'm trying to future-proof it, but it saved me $600 just because of where I live. So
you're not lying. I used to drive down to the Christiana Mall to buy MacBooks and things like that.
Yeah,
to save the tax. but now you can't get them in the store because I tried it for this Mac, and then I go to order it, but you need a Delaware address to save on the sales tax, obviously. So they hit me with that 7%. So I literally, it was $620 something in tax on this MacBook.
Yeah. Well, trust me when I tell you that there's I've gotten a lot of texts about friends like, hey,
yo, can I just ship this to your crib? You got a PO box?
It's happened multiple times during the pandemic. Yes.
Yeah. Now I know you live in Delaware. I didn't know you lived in Delaware.
Yeah, so it comes in handy.
But like, how'd you start DJing and all that? Did you start like with like private events? Did you start with production? Did you start with high school stuff? Like, how did you like get your start?
Like 15, I was going to a lot of birthday parties like for peers in middle school, and we would all like go to the parties. There'd be 50 of us or whatever. And there's like CD changers are kind of like new or like rich families had them, which we were not one as my family, but my school district had a few, and they would just throw in like everyone throwing CDs, like 6 CDs, and then it would just rotate all night. But like nobody would change the CDs. So if you're there for a couple hours, like we've already heard Britney Spears CD the entire way through. We've already heard Jay-Z Hard Knock Life all the way through. We've already heard Limp Bizkit all the way through. Like, and so like I was like, dude, like nobody's noticing we've heard this song like twice tonight. And I was like, okay, like I need to change it. So I went out to Radio Shack and bought like 2 Discman and like a crappy little mixer, like a Radio Shack mixer, and just started charging like $50 to DJ birthday parties for my classmates. And I didn't know what I was doing. Absolutely did not. But like, at that point you're hitting play, and there was a small delay on the CD players. So you hit play, it's like, and the song would play. And I just faded in and out. And so I was like, all right. And then I started doing school dances because a friend of mine who was in a band from my youth group had like all this sound equipment. Like he had like gigantic speakers and like amps. So I was like, hey, like I'll cut you in because I can charge more with like legit equipment if you like come to the things, just like help me run sound. So I started doing that for a couple $100. And then I got like a Gemini disco mix or sometime shortly after that as like a gift from my parents.
Okay.
Which is like
CDs built in, CD players built in.
Yep, and a 2-channel mixer, and it had pitch adjust but no master tempo. Like no master pitch. +8 -8, that's all you had. Mm-hmm. So I had to do the Mickey Mouse thing. Like they didn't really have master pitch back then anyway. So it was like 1998 or something like that. 97, 98. So
wow.
Yeah, and then I just started buying more gear, and after I got like legit gear, I started doing like every school district in the area. Like there was a couple years from like 1999 or 2000 to like 2006 where I was like I got to do like every school district in the area like within like 30 miles. Like we did all of them. Like I would do like come prom season we did like 9 or 10 proms, which is a lot.
Hershey area you're saying? So like Hershey, Harrisburg, Palmyra, Annville.
Yeah, Central Dauphin, which was a huge
Central Dauphin.
The superintendent there really liked me, and I had this guy Taz who worked at the radio station in Harrisburg with me, and like we just worked well together. Like we would cut like school promos, like we would do commercials and send them in for them like at the radio station, or like we'd do like little video clips and like hyping up the prom, like, hi, we're Scooter and Taz from Hot 92, Harrisburg's hottest hits. Like, and we would do like, if it was a spring formal, we would like this one that he still has, I gotta find it, but we talked about baby rabbits and baby carrots. And it was just like this goofy school promo. The kids would just get excited about that. It was like a silly thing, and like we were working at the radio station after we graduated, so like they liked it. It was like a local radio station, like personalities involved in it, so it worked out well for a while. But then I just like the bar stuff and club stuff started taking off, and I was like, I'm just gonna commit myself more to doing weddings and bar and nightclub stuff. And then I kind of
did you go to college or anything, or you just went straight like?
Yeah, so I went to Harrisburg Community College for music marketing actually, and like got an internship at the radio station the first semester.
That's how you got in. Okay.
Yeah, and so they threw me into everything. They were like, you need to learn how to, I was out giving out T-shirts at college events and stuff like that. And then I was also, they threw me on the morning show. I don't know why, because they needed a third person on the radio show. And the guy who was doing it at the time was like super flamboyantly gay. And they had a female weather girl on there too. So they threw me in as like the stereotypical white male perspective on the show. So we'd be talking about like J-Lo's butt, and I'd be like, oh yeah, like it's so fine. He'd be like, oh, she's such a whore. Like he'd be like that. He'd be like that perspective, and then the girl would be like, oh, she's man, stop bagging on her, like she's good looking, blah blah blah. So like he'd be like the total other spectrum, and we played it up. Like I was like over the top, and so is he, but like for radio. But like I was like the red-blooded American like male perspective on that show. And so
I gotta dig up these recordings. They gotta be somewhere.
They have to be somewhere. I would love to hear them. But so I got known for, like, that's how I got my name too, is because I was intern Ryan at the radio station, and then they were like, everybody there was like, you need a radio name, like you can't be intern Ryan for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And at the time I was using DJ Willie, Willy, because my last name is Willard, and like Will Smith.
Okay. I was like,
Will Smith was like, Big Willie style was out, and so like I was like, everyone called me on the baseball team by that for like years and years and years. So I was like, well, I don't want a DJ name, a radio name, and a real name. Like that's too many. So after a couple weeks of us like going back and forth about bringing in names to like pick from, and none of them I liked. Like my co-host would bring them in, I would bring them in, and we'd go down on the commercial breaks like, okay, how about this? How about this? I'd be like, nope. The one day he was like going down his, and he got to like number 8 and was like DJ Scooter, and I was like, well, that's kind of the best of the worst, but I still don't like it. So I was like, like we'll figure it out, but like I don't like any of these. And he comes out of commercial like, Hot 92 Harrisburg, hottest hits is Mackenzie in the morning, and we have Scooter in the studio, and just like threw out my name to all of Central Pennsylvania, like, and I was like, we sat across from each other, so like just like me and you, but I was like this the whole time, like.
I hate you.
I was like,
yeah.
I was so pissed. And I was like, I just go onto the mic. I was like, yeah. Like, I was like, son of a bitch. Like,
I guess that's me now.
And I'm like, I'm an intern at a big radio station. So like, I'm not going to be like, I have no fucking power to say, nope, not doing it. Like if that was me now, I'd be like, absolutely not. Like kick rocks. Yeah. But then I was like, guys, they're picking on me.
Yeah.
So, and then what's wild is I started I'd go right to college classes after the morning show, and I'd be there 4 to 10 in the morning and go right to class. But like everybody in class would be like, we heard you on the radio. And like, I started doing events in the community as Scooter. And like, so I was like, yo, everybody knows me like that. So I was still young, like 18 at that point. So I was like, well, we're gonna rock with DJ Scooter from now on, because it just, in my little world of Central Pennsylvania, like that's how everybody knew me. And I was like, all my production, I started posting as that. And at the time I wasn't really posting much stuff online. Like I think at the time I might have posted a couple edits on DJ forums, but I just switched. Like,
how'd you get into that though? Like production and stuff. Like was that like simultaneous? Like you kind of like made your own edits to DJ with or something? You kind of just figured it out?
Yeah, I would like listen to like local radio at night. They had mix shows, and I think at the time it was like some dude just playing funky mixes all day at night,
Yeah, X-Mix.
Yeah. Which like they've gotten a lot better, but at the time they were like way overproduced. Like, and that was just a style back then. Like they would be like, "Hey, yo, boom, boom," like unnecessary scratches all over it, and but I was like, "Oh my god, it's so cool!" So it's different than the original, so I thought it was cool. So at home, I would just start messing on my parents' like Windows 95 computer, and every single Windows computer up until like I think 2000 had this program that came on it like Solitaire did. It was called Windows Wave Editor, and it was solo tracked, so you couldn't, no multi-tracked. And I would just like copy WAV files or MP3s into that, and then like mix paste over at certain points. Like you put the cursor and you just hit mix paste, so it like would put it over it. No recognition for being decibels over limits or anything like that. I was just like,
yeah.
I was like, boom, paste it, and I would play it, and if it sounded good, and if it drifted off, I'd have to like go into my CD player, change the pitch like 0.1%, and like re-record it.
Yeah.
Take that, copy, paste it, and I was like, oh, I made an edit. Like I was like, bro, it was so antiquated. Like the one time, I swear to God, it took me 50 tries to do this one little thing, and I was so happy when I was done. But also, I was like, when I got to the radio station and saw they had Cool Edit Pro, which is now Adobe Audition, that got bought out. But when they showed me that you could do multi-track, my mind went like, because they sat me in the studio one day and they're like, here, you need to learn how to cut commercials. And they just like threw me in a production studio and were like, figure it out. Like, I was like, what? Like, but they had like CDs with like sound effects and like, and like
sweeps and all. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what they were called. Like,
yeah.
I was like, holy, my mind was like, oh my God, I just found gold. Like, so you couldn't get me out of that studio after that. Like, anytime it was open, I'd go in there and just start messing around. So, and then I think I got like a pirated version of like Cool Edit Pro, like very shortly after that, or somebody had one, or they gave it to me with the station's credentials, and I was able to like get it at home. And I was like, okay, now it's on. Like, and I was like obsessed with that stuff. And that's how I started really getting into editing, was that. There's just like a lot of like curiosity, and like once I figured out there was other things available, tools, then I was like, oh, it's on. Because my mind just went like all these things started flooding in, like wild.
I can't imagine the advantage you got as a DJ with that too, because, you know, edits, it was so hard. Like, there was not a lot of edits back then, if any, like, you know what I mean? And like, so most people were playing original tracks, and if they got the X Mix, Funky Mix stuff, like, you were the shit. Like, to be able to kind of make your own stuff and get creative with it and like use that as DJ, like that's a huge advantage back then, you know?
And
there
I
was no record pools back then, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, like there was vinyl, like
vinyl record, yeah.
Yeah, but like, as a kid, like I didn't know that was possible, but I did have an advantage too, because the record labels would send vinyl to the radio station, and I did buy turntables at that time too, but I didn't really use them much because I was like, I don't really have records to play. But as soon as I got that internship, these records would sit in the program director's office stacked like almost higher than me, because nobody wanted them. Like, they were like square, dorky radio people who gave no shits about records. So like, I walked into the program director's office one day, like what are those? Like, and he's like, oh, like blah blah. I'm like, can I have them? And he's like, yeah, sure. So I just like every time. And then I was like, oh, now you screwed up, because every single vinyl that came into that place.
Were these all like promo records, like all like white label type stuff?
Yeah, or just like promo singles from the label, full albums. Like, I remember like getting like I had the other day, I was like going through shit, and I have like, why do I have 50 copies? Not 50, but I had like 6 copies of like Olivia and 50 Cent, like Best Friend or whatever. I was like, oh, it's because I just hoarded all. I was like, I'll take it. Like, they would send multiple copies to the station, so I was like, yo, I'm taking all this stuff. Like, I have this. You know, remember that Pussycats record? It was, I think it was Don't Ya, but
Don't You wish the girlfriend was?
Yeah, well, I forget what label at the time, but there was another girl group that recorded it, and they sent it. I have it. It's like a different group that has the exact same song. They recorded it and sent it out as like a different group, and then Pussycats they were on Interscope as well. The label was like, we're gonna give this song to this Pussycat girl group instead. So I have that same song by 2 different groups on vinyl.
The other group must be sick. They must be so mad to this day. Like,
yeah, there's like weird stuff like that too. Usher also recorded that J-Lo song "Get Right" on vinyl that I have. Usher recorded the whole song. Like, it's a full record as like a demo. Yeah, I have that. It's on YouTube actually. I think I found it a couple years ago. But I was like, yo, I swear I have this. And I like just Googled and I found a link to it somewhere, but someone else uploaded it. But it's on the internet. So when you're bored, go check that out. You'll be like, what? Like,
I'm going to write that down. That's super interesting.
it happens a lot.
What would you say, like, so you're making all these edits and you're doing your thing, through the radio station and everything, and you're doing, you're making a name for yourself in Central PA and like getting booked out a lot of parties because you're the radio guy and you come in with all these crazy edits too, eventually and all this stuff. But like, when did you start like really with, was Crooklyn Clan like the big thing when you started like making money off these edits and stuff? Like when did you like, break into the like where you're sharing stuff with other DJs?
Well, I was doing it for free on DJ forums for a while, like from around, I don't know, like 99 to 2004 or 3.
So you would just drop packs kind of thing? Like,
no, I would just be like, hey, I made this Chris Brown, like, yo, excuse me, miss, with yo, that Chris Brown single or whatever. I did that, like, and it was like a 5-minute long version that like broke off into like both records, but like it was wordplay kind of. And I just posted on, there was this group called Jimix forums back in the day, which I still met like Joshua Carl and like a bunch of guys that are still in the video space. Like they were on that forum. So I met a lot of DJs that way, giving my stuff out for free. I'd be like, hey, I made this edit. And like, I thought it was cool because you were getting feedback from like 10 people. Mm-hmm. But it was still like peer feedback, and I kind of was like started getting like addicted to that because I was like, oh, like these guys think it's good. And I was like, when you are doing stuff and there's not, the internet wasn't the internet back then, like, there was MySpace, but like you didn't have the immediate like you post an Instagram reel or TikTok and like be like, oh my god, look at my views. Like, so when I got like 3 guys commenting like this is dope, like I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, I'm onto something. Like, I don't suck. It's
that
like
reassurance. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine 3 comments made me feel that way back then? And now, if you got 3 comments only, you'd be like,
this sucks.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, like, that's how crazy, like, it's like warped our brains into like being unsatisfied with like mediocrity. Like, it's a shame because
it's a blessing and a curse.
It was encouraging to me back then, so. Yeah. But now, like our measuring like height is so much increased. Like the bar is raised. We need millions to be like we did it. Like
it's perspective, man. It's perspective, but it's good too because it kind of motivates you. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you would stop at the 3 comments. Like you always want more. And in life, or if you're one of the ambitious ones, I suppose. But I think that's important too.
But then I submitted some stuff to Crooklyn Clan and like I got hired because at that time you had to be on the Bullpen, which was like you submitted like 2 tracks, and then if you were one of the top 2 people in that whole month for the Bullpen, you got put on Crooklyn Clan. That was like
so that's how you made it.
That was like a tryout.
There.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like they had, I don't know how many people a month they would let submit, but like if you were in the top 2, like they would consider you to put on the actual site. So I was lucky enough to make the cut, and then from there it was like off to the races. Like 2005 to 2015 or 14 I was on that website. So that was a long time.
Yeah, and they paid per track. Like every download you got a cut, right? Which is a unique kind of way. Like, record pools don't work like that. Like it's usually, right? Like with, your direct music service, your Club Killers and stuff like that. Like instead of per track, is it like, kind of per month and you have a quota or something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like how everybody else's stuff is worked out. For me, like I get a certain amount of a week I get paid, and as far as it's concerned, like they know I'm always working on stuff, so they don't really sweat my balls about like we need to see this many songs from you or else. Like
gotcha.
Because Kevin and Warren are just like great people, and they know like what I do and like that I freaking am always working on something. But like if I just don't put anything out for a month or 2, like I'm sure I'll get a phone call like, hey, are you alive? Like that's not going to be the case, but like, I'm always doing something. So yeah, I
That's
mean,
cool.
I can't really speak on like everybody else's situation because I think it's very individual based, at least from within DMS. Like everybody has their own deal worked out, and so I don't. That's like speaking on like DJ contracts. Like, so how much did you get for the wedding for them sparklers? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't know. So, but for me, yeah, that's just the way it is worked out. But and I think every record pool does it differently. Like I know some of the other guys have said like they didn't tell me the amount, but they were like, oh, like it's this and this and this, and I was like, oh, interesting way of doing it, but. They do have
Whereas Crooklyn
quotas.
Clan back in the day was literally per track. So like literally like it was based on sales. So when you had like a hot track that got a bunch of downloads, you're making guap.
Yeah. There was months, and it was always October. That was like a big month, or December, because it was always holiday themed. So you got an extra bump because you could do like holiday edits, and like people just ate those things up, like, you know. But then they started like screwing with the payouts. Like they started screwing with the amounts because it got oversaturated. They were like bringing on all these like goobers onto the website, like who, no offense, just like weren't up to the quality that the site had been used to.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. Like they started hiring like more and more people that had no business being on there, and then they just like, well, we can add more editors, put out more product, but reduce the price of the tracks and still make our cut. And so they saw it as like, well, we're still making our money, but it screwed the editors over, to be quite frank. So
Gotcha.
like that eventually, like it became unattainable, and I was like, a bunch of us were like, yo, peace, like you're devaluing us, like, you know, you're making it more of like a quantity over quality situation, and it's just like, nope. Like, and other
And that-
people were like, we had already built our brand at that point, like, you know what I mean? So
So you
It's
just
just
went
like-
to like DMS at that point? It was like a lateral move
no,
kind of thing?
they got pissed at me because I sent a mass email out on a DMX edit I did, and gave it out. Like I just was like, hey, I did this DMX twerk edit of Party Up, like, and they got pissed because other people were like blowing it up on social media, like, and I was like, well, you guys have it too. Like, you just are lazy and chose not to like endorse people that you already have in house. Like, you're just, it got lost in like the sauce. So, but other people were making a big deal about it, that other websites that weren't that website. And
Gotcha.
so we got into like all right, you know, I think it's best we just part ways. Like, things were already like not vibing like as a whole. And so other people had already left the website. So it was like, okay, cool. Like, here's the email. Like, okay, we're parting ways. Boom, boom, bye. And then DMS was like, hey, we love you. You've always been good. Like, take like 2 months, make some stuff. Like, we'll figure it out. They put me on payroll like instantly, which was like a huge like deal, because I was
Yeah.
like, well, that's a lot of income I'm going to miss, but they just did me a solid and were like, yo, like, you're super valuable to DJ community. We'll be happy to have you. Like, you know, collect your thoughts and like make some dope shit for the next couple months, and like we'll figure it out. Like, here's your paycheck, like, as of next week. And I was like, oh my God, like that was a big deal. Like,
Yeah,
'Cause
that
Kevin-
is cool.
Kevin and Warren are like stand-up human beings. So like I was like forever indebted to them for like just, and they still are that way. So like, say whatever you want about record pools, but like when I'm like a people person, and like when people take care of you like that, it's like, what can you say? Like, it's just a stand-up situation. So I was like,
so-
shout out to them.
So when you made the transfer, though, like all the edits you made for Crooklyn, that had to stay there. You couldn't bring any of those edits to DMS, right? So that's why I say, like, you know, take 2 months, make some edits, so you have like a little bit of a catalog we can drop on DMS, and then like that's how it got you started, and then they paid you for the whole 2 months.
Yeah, and so the effed up thing though is like everybody that left that website still to this day, they still are hawking old edits on there of us, which is complete bullshit, to be honest with you. Like, because we put the blood, sweat, and tear into those edits, and like they're still making money every month on Crooklyn Clan off that shit, which is ridiculous. But like, I'm not even sweating it because like that's that type of shit is the difference between what DMS and like the shit that had been going on at the end of why we all left. Like it's just it's like a shady thing, and it's not Riz for sure. Like, you know what I mean? That's the homie. So I'm not saying that, but it was just like, it was just whack. So yeah. And if you ask any editor from that time, like they'll tell you it's still whack, that they're still selling our shit and we're not seeing any money from it, but it is what it is.
One thing that came to prominence in that era too, when you're making edits for Crooklyn Clan and stuff, and that really got popular with Crooklyn Clan among DJs, were like the segue edits, right? Like the edits that would go, and I've talked about this before on my show, and I was actually I called you because I was like, I'm about to fucking literally make the most disrespectful video I've ever made in my life about segue edits, because like my personal opinion is I hate them, and I think they're stupid, and I think DJs use them as a crutch. And it's like, if you can do the segue yourself, if you can mix the two songs together or do the wordplay or the tone play or whatever yourself, then do it live. And if you can't, then you're capping just by doing the edit. If you don't have the talent to do it live, then you shouldn't be playing. You have no business playing the edit. And then if you do have the talent to do it live and you're playing the edit, then you're just being lazy. And I hate it all. And honestly, when we were talking, you're kind of, one of the first, if not the first, to start doing these whole segue edits. And I wanted to ask you live in front of the people, do you, because you talked about that Chris Brown edit, the yo and everything, and this was like so early on. Is a part of you kind of like regret making them, at all? Or like, what are your thoughts on them in general,
Well, my thoughts now are different than they were back then, because now, number one, like the origin of them in general, which I don't think I've ever told this story publicly, so it literally is like a first time ever, and they've creeped into the DJ culture so much. Like every single record pool has segue edits now, like, and if you notice, they're spelled like segue itself is spelled like SEGUE, I think is like the way like it's correctly spelled. But
that's just a seg, yeah, just a seg. I think it means to transition. I think, right? There's no way at the end. I think.
No, like on the record pools, it's like SE. Yeah, Google it. I think it's GUE is the way that some of the record pools are now spelling it.
Yeah, no, seg. So SEGUE, just like you said, just seg is in music and film, move without interruption from one piece of music or scene to another, right? But you spelled it the SEGWAY.
Right, and there's a reason, because, and this is gonna blow some people's minds, but back in, I think it was 2000, I don't even know what year, there was a song Chris Brown had, "Get Like Me," and it was like, "Ever seen a Chevy with them butterfly doors? Get like me." And it was like, it was a segue that went from like a Chris Brown record into, I think it was Young Jock, and he was, or like, it was a wordplay thing, and like I was sitting on AOL Instant Messenger back then, because that's how a lot of us like editors, like it would be like the current day Slack, but like they didn't have Slack back then, but we would be on AIM anytime we're working on music. So like I was on there and I was talking to Danny Diggs, which we would often do, and be like, "Yo, what are you working on this week?" Like blah blah blah, and I'm like, "Yo, like I have this idea. I don't know what to call it. It's not a transition because it's only like 4 BPM change. I need a different title for it." And we were like jokingly shooting ideas back and forth, and I was like, "I need a different title." And I think I said, I think I said it, but I was like, "Yo, like what if I called it a segue?" And like it means what it means, like a get between two different things. But it was like, okay, that makes sense. And the whole tongue-in-cheek thing about it is, the reason it's spelled that way is because my DJ name is Scooter, and like the company Segway for the scooter company spells it that way. So it was like, oh, like this is genius. Like you can create a new term, and also it's like taking credit for like you coming up with that term. So I put my first one out on Crooklyn Clan with those two songs, and little did I know that like they started becoming like a thing, and like they just, other editors started doing it and spelling it that way. And now like I think people correct it because they're like, oh, it's spelled wrong. It's spelled wrong. So all these other record pools to this day are like, it's spelled Segway. And I'm like, no, actually, it's spelled Segway because it was the name of a scooter company, and I did the first one ever. And I just have always done that. And I think nobody in the world, I didn't tell this story on any podcast before. And until you talked to me, I didn't even realize I didn't. But now it's like a thing, and I don't think anyone really realizes like that's the reason why it's spelled that way. And so it's now all over the internet and other record pools, and it's a thing now. But I agree with your sentiment. Like it's a crutch for sure. But at the time, it was just kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing, and we were in the mode of like, okay, we got to crank out content. So like, I wasn't thinking like 12 years down the road when like, you know, guys that go up to the fucking Mac store and buy a laptop and go on a record pool and call themselves a DJ, like, are going to start using them as like crutches. Like, I was like, I'm trying to be creative and like stand out in this space and like do things that are different, and like there was never an edit like this before, like, so I'm gonna do it. And so we were like, okay, cool,
that's for sure.
And I was trying to, I was in college, like I was trying to pay my bills, like, you know, dude, it was like not like a conscious decision to like forward think down the road, but I definitely think it gets abused, like for sure. Like I totally agree. A lot of the edits I end up doing like that are things that come in excuse me they come in real life DJ situations. Like I'll do something live and be like, oh, like, you know, I could do this into an edit. So I'll make my own like tools, but then, you know, just for purposes of record pools, like I might put some of those out. But I agree that I should probably stop doing that, because there's been instances where like homies of mine have been at this place and like been like, yo, this DJ was up there like pretending like he was doing this like wordplay that you did, and I was like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, we went up to him and like scolded him, and I was like, yeah, that's good. But I'm like, how many times is that happening, like, and I don't know about it? Like, you know, there's dudes like, and the wedding, then these people are like, the bride comes up like, oh my God, you're the best DJ ever. And they're like, thanks. Like, they take the credit for it.
And definitely on TikTok, it's happening a lot. I mean, you know, but I gotta, you know, I kind of live in a glass house, because like the one video that went super viral, like 28 million views on TikTok, was I was using your edit. Thank you for that, by the way. Shouts to Scooter's Patreon. I subscribed to his Patreon, and you dropped the Britney Spears edit pack where it has like basically it loops, or it's a party in the USA and it loops the and the Britney song was on at the end. It goes to acapella. So I was literally using your edit, and I would go into the Britney song, and it's a song. It's a mix that everybody does. I was super mad. I put it out there, but like I didn't think it would go viral, right? You know, so like I was super mad. That's the one that went viral, because everybody's probably like, this dude's so basic and he does the same mix as everybody else. But anyway, so like I kind of live in a glass house, but at the same time, when it comes to like specific wordplay, like specific, you know, routines, for example, like my routine that I made up myself, I did it first. I have the receipts. Let's get it. Let's get it started. Black Eyed Peas. You loop to Everybody, and then you go to Everybody by Backstreet Boys. I know my boy John Con was right there when I made it up. Like I literally have receipts of videos I did, everything. Eventually, it ended up becoming an edit on Club Killers. I also posted a video on TikTok of me doing that edit live, right, a couple weeks ago. And then sure enough, this other DJ, I don't remember his name, it was his first video on TikTok. He friggin' does that exact mix on TikTok. And it's his most viewed video on TikTok too. Because when he goes to make up his own ideas, you know, they're not the same. So it's so obvious that wasn't his idea, because everything else is just basically two blends together. And then this one was and it just, like, that sort of thing drives me nuts. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it's flattery, right? You know, so you got to look at it. It's just, you know, people are going to beat stuff, but I don't know. There's a fine line. You know, there's routines I think that like all DJs like kind of do that are super obvious, like the real obvious stuff. But
right, like
but then there's others that like, I don't know. You tell me.
There's like so I did like I put the Mariah Fantasy vocal over that Lotto beat, because it's like the exact same sample, but I felt like the Lotto beat was like produced now modern times, and it just hits a lot harder. Like that's obvious. A bunch of dudes on other record pools like copied that shit, but I was first to do it. Like I have receipts. Like her damn record label was sending it out as like, hey DJs, like if you're looking for like a cool alternative, like you want to play
That's crazy.
Mariah Carey with it, and then they ended up putting out like an official version of it like 2 weeks ago, which is terrible. But like, I'm like, oh, that's obvious. Like, it's literally the same song. Like, I'm not gonna get mad at that shit. But like,
exactly.
Like, TikTok is wild now because I was telling you before that like I did like a goofy Encanto blend with like over Usher, like because I had a bunch of like DJs hit me up like, my kids love Encanto, can you do something with Encanto? Like I was like, okay. So I was like, oh, like Usher is in key with this, like this would be funny. Like, so I put it out on like Instagram Reels and like TikTok, and then like literally like a month and a half later, like I'm seeing tons of TikTok videos of like a snippet of my edit, but like I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm not getting the views on my edit, you know what I mean? But somebody sent me a video just this week of like this other dude who like just posts like Ableton edits like of mashups all the time, and he had like literally copied my idea, like verbatim copied it, and I was like, this son of a bitch, like, and I like it happens a lot, like I do random ass ideas. Like nobody and their mother thought to put Vanessa Carlton over Tatiana, and like that shit went viral. But it was like pre kind of like TikTok fame. So like if somebody copied that shit, which they tried to do all over the internet, like I'm like, yo, bro, like are you fucking kidding? Like nobody thought to do that. And I did like Golden Girls with levitating. Like nobody thought to do that. I did.
That was a great edit.
Oh, the recent one that someone tried to copy was Reading Rainbow and Cardi B, which is like literally like I don't care what you say, like nobody in their mother's basement like came up with that idea before I did. Nobody. And I tried to call this DJ out about it, and he was like, I have timestamps and blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, bro, like you subscribe to DMS, you're a follower of my Instagram. My Instagram like page posted this shit like 3 days prior with timestamps, and the motherfucker like stopped responding to me. So like
and did it the one he do have the same ad libs too? Like it's literally like it's too similar. Like you can tell that he literally like, used
I put like in the Cardi B song, they go like, you know, that's right. So like in the Reading Rainbow, like after the end of like the first line, like it's like right in the right pocket where like you know, you can go twice as high. I know that's right. Like it like just fit perfectly. And like I'm like literally like he did the exact same shit. I'm like, again, that's very specific. Like
when those parallel ideas, thinking, it's too specific.
No, hell no. And it's like, oh, you happen to come out with it like within 3 days of like after I put mine out, like, and you're like, you know what? Like the ideas just fell out of the heavens. Like, you know,
Jesus came down and told me this idea. You can't tell me no different, Scooter.
Yeah. Yo, yeah. I was like, yo, fuck off. Like, there's no way. And I hate to be the internet police, but like, I'm at that time where I'm like, I've been doing this a long time. I'm not like you're a newbie. Like, and I'm like, yo, and the thing that bugs me is that I put these out on public forums, like DJs subscribe to DMS, and like there's DJs that follow my Instagram page or my TikTok, and I'm like, if it's out on all public forums like that, you really have no excuse, like, because you can't have plausible deniability when you are following my TikTok, you follow my Instagram, like I checked into it, the dude's a subscriber of DMS, so I'm like you know it exists. Yeah, bro. Like it's not like I'm some like rando dude who just like popped up out of Norway and was like, I have like one view on my video, and it's like, you know, you don't know who the hell I am. It's like you follow my Instagram page, you see everything I post, which I often do, which I might stop doing because this happens all the time. Like I post a preview of shit that's coming out in DMS, and like I've had other editors like before the end of the week try to copy ideas.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Like I'm like, oh, okay, like the same week.
Brutal. Yeah, and try and drop it before you. It's like, oh, we dropped the first. What are you talking about? Oh, I didn't see your story.
Yeah. I swear to God.
Brutal, man. I'd be so mad if I was you.
Bro, that's happened 3 times in the last 2 years. Like dead serious. So now I'm like, okay, like I need to think about this strategically. Like it needs to be already on the upload box to DMS. Like I'm like, when is this getting published? Like,
yeah.
Cause like that whole plausible deniability shit just doesn't fly with me. Like I'm straight calling motherfuckers out from now on. Like so, y'all are on notice. Like I'm gonna I will tag you all over the internet and like shame you to death. So don't try it with me anymore. Like it's a warning. Shots fired.
Let them know. We heard it here first. Okay. Heard it here first. I wish I had gunshot sample. I'm looking for a gunshot sample. Nothing. Nope. Oh, you heard it here first.
It's a shame too because like I respect all DJs like and I love like people coming up with their own shit, but like it's just different, bro. Like it's different when it's so public. Like you know what I mean? And it's like I kind of got a reputation like for being like an editor and like being creative and stuff like that. So like it's tough to be like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't know. But half the time the guys come at me with like sideways attitude. Like the dude tried to give me like a sob story like, I have a receipt from March 23rd at this time, blah blah blah. And then when I post my receipt, that was 2 days earlier with timestamps from Instagram. Crickets. It was like crickets. It's like well like,
and you know, if DJs are watching this and they're wondering, well, like, you know, how do I come up with my own stuff? You know, I've recommended this before. Like a big thing that helped me out personally was behind closed doors in my bedroom or wherever the hell you practice, right? I would like listen to a Scooter edit. I would listen to like another edit, you know, wordplay, whatever. I would try and recreate it behind closed doors, not live, not publicly, but like, you know, behind closed doors, make a saved loop in Serato, make my cues, try and recreate it and practice it. And when I can do an edit perfectly, right, like live like this, now it kind of opens up your mind where, you know, you kind of understand how to use the equipment better to like, you know, do really creative transitions. And now when you kind of think of life through that lens and like kind of like look through life through that lens and like try and think of your own stuff, it's not as daunting to try and do it yourself. Like I feel like people rely on this stuff too much. Like use it as practice because like that's literally what I did. I used a bunch of other people's edits behind closed doors to learn how to do it myself. And then once I learned how to do it myself, I had the confidence to kind of like, okay, I think these two songs might work and I know how I could try and put it together, you know, because otherwise it's kind of hard to like, you might hear a like word in two songs, but it's like, how do you even begin to you know, make that transition work? And I think like that's a good way to practice, but like to straight beat ideas and do it live and claim, or if you're gonna, people do steal my ideas often, but I would say, I gotta say like 95% of the time they tag me and they're like inspiration by Nick Spinelli. And like, at least they do that. I mean, you're still stealing, and why, but like, at least you tagged me, you know what I mean? So at the very least you got to tag, you know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean like the reason that like some of the stuff ended up getting produced is because like my mind is so picky about the production aspect of some of the stuff. And I know like, okay, I did this live, but it's like not perfectly clean. So like my mind would be like bothered by, I'm like, okay, well now I'm going to grab the acapella and like, I'm going to do this. And like, it would be super smooth. So like, I'll be like, oh, I made it for my own like weird artist satisfaction. Like, okay, this is perfect the way I do it like this. But like, I like all this stuff is like stuff that I probably came up with live or like my weird ass head came up with and I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. And like, it works. So like, just do that. Like it doesn't really benefit you to like be copying other people's ideas because you're not like opening your mind to start thinking that way. Like you were saying, like if you come up with one idea, like it opens the floodgates to like retrain your brain to start thinking that way. You know what I mean? So like you were saying, if you're at home, like instead of like just copying other people's stuff, like you came up with your one original idea, like you're going to feel much more proud about that and like be able to like put it out there and be like, this is mine. I came up with this, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you used to do that stuff before, like copy routines, like DJ routines before there was the internet or whatever, like you get like smacked. Like OGs would like, do not put up with that stuff. Like that's like DJ code 101. Like you do not copy like DJ ideas. Like just do not do that. Like if you copied like a Jazzy Jeff routine or some stuff like that, like that was like DJ shunned forever. Like you would be blackballed. Like OGs would not book you at clubs. Like if you were like a biter, like you would be like thrown into the gutter. Like And so like people need to understand that. Like I grew up in that era where like you needed to respect other DJs that came before you, and like there's like a lot of that, those lines are getting blurred. Like no one's gonna know, I'm gonna put it on my TikTok. It's like there's 1,000 other DJs that know that somebody else did it are gonna call you out. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have that same edit. Like,
and not to mention, you're relying on other DJs to come up with your ideas for you. So, like, you're really shooting yourself in the foot by just relying on other DJs' ideas, because you're not training yourself to come up with your own ideas. Like, if you're going to be a better DJ in the long run if you can train yourself to come up with your own ideas and have your own unique things that you do. You're going to set yourself apart. You're literally just relying on other DJs' ideas and just using those. You know, those DJs all have the same excuse. Well, the crowd doesn't care. The crowd doesn't know where that idea came from, so they think it's crazy. You're literally like, you're always going to be, you're literally, every idea you do is something that everybody else does on earth. So like every other DJ does. So like you're not by any means setting yourself apart. You're setting yourself up for mediocrity. You're going to charge okay money. You're just going to be an okay DJ. You're just going to be okay. Like if you're trying to be on the top, you got, originality is the only way to get there. Like it's flat out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
I'm not knocking people. Like I appreciate people that play my edits and like do that stuff, but don't try to own it. Like do not, especially in a public space, like don't go on Instagram, don't go on TikTok, do not flex for your family members and be like, guys, look at this cool routine I came up with. Like that's the line that gets drawn in the sand there at that
DJ
point.
gods are always watching.
Like guys, come on, like just like be stand-up human beings. Like if you're doing yourself a disservice by relying on other people to be your creative outlet. Like, you know what I mean? Like you get ahead a lot farther if you were coming up with these things, because then you start stacking one idea, two ideas, three ideas, and you're like, these are mine. Like, you know, you come hear me DJ, you're not going to hear this from that guy. You know what I mean? So you do that enough, and eventually you got yourself a little thing going on, and you're like this. You can tell your clients like, this is why, like blah blah blah. You whatever. Like, just be yourself. Like, there's so many DJs. Sorry, so many DJs in the world. Be different. You know what I mean?
Couldn't agree more, man.
What I'm dying. Sorry.
No, you're good, brother. I feel your pain. What when did you like, speaking of like doing like stuff at weddings stuff, like when did you get into weddings? Like was that something that came later? Have you kind of always been doing weddings? Like I know you do like 20, 30 years, something like that?
Yeah, and it's not a ton, but I've been always doing weddings. Even when I was doing like the high school dances, like that era is when I started really doing weddings, like 2000, I don't know, 2, 3, like 4. But I would do like, I don't know, 8 or 10 a year tops. Like not very many. Like some years probably less. But because like I just like, I didn't see, I just didn't have the interest in it back then, because so much stuff was happening for me as when you're a 20-year-old kid or whatever age I was, like you're focused on like girls and like, you know, like you get
the cool aspect, clubs, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah.
Yeah, like all that started happening so fast for me that like it was like shiny objects, like getting distracted. You know, you were like, oh, nightclubs, oh this, oh that, like oh radio, like
yeah,
you know, like it was just so much new stuff, and I was still learning all of it. So I was like, my head was like spinning with like new, and I was still like working. I like was selling cell phones. I was a manager at Hollister for like 2 years when I was that age, like, you know, like 18, 19, whatever I was.
You're the shirtless boy horse at Hollister.
Dude, I was a great, yeah. I mean, I met, you know, it was a good time. I met a lot of, you know, attractive young girls that were like my age. Like it was just like it's what you did. You're a high school, you know, college kid. Like, you know, we were all dumb and stupid at one point. So yeah, you know, I did all that. I flipped burgers one summer. Like there was a point when I was like, I worked at Hershey Park flipping burgers. I was selling cell phones. I was DJing, and I worked at the radio station. I had like 4 jobs at one point. And then as the DJ thing took off, I just slowly like started not doing those. Like I was like, all right, I'm quitting. like this. I'm gonna quit that because I was like able to support myself. Like that, I kind of had to like step it down. You know what I mean? But it took years. Like, but I did the dirty jobs. Like I was before I started really getting into DJing. 14 and 15, 16 years old. I was like bussing tables at a restaurant at Hershey Park. Like I did all that crap. Like I was a regular person like everybody else. Like the DJ thing just didn't like fall into my lap, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like I was figuring it out too, bro. Like it was rough. Like
Definitely
you can
not
hear
easy.
it. No,
Especially rates
Like-
back then were low.
yeah. I mean, you dealt with like
And Harrisburg, the one guy. Did you ever work for Ron back in the day with Harrisburg? Like he owned like every club in Harrisburg on 2nd Street, like Sawyer's, all those places.
no, but I've always had a good relationship with Ron. But the one time we did a radio station event with the cast of what was the MTV show? It was Road Rules. It was, yeah. So like, now it's The Challenge, but back then it was called Road Rules. Like it's that show where they have like MTV cast members like travel across country and compete and stuff, and they did like, I don't know, it was like a reality show, but it was a really popular show back then. And like there was a bunch of seasons, and like we did a bunch of events with castmates there, and I got hired to DJ at Sawyer's because it was like through the radio station, not because Ron hired me.
Oh, okay.
And he gave me all kinds of shit for playing like Baby Got Back or something like that. And he was like,
He's
oh,
very
no.
strict on hip hop. You cannot. I dropped public service announcement there one time, and he literally was like, "Do you like?" He came up to me, and you play that song for 50 seconds, right? Like right first verse, that's it, and you're gone. He came up. He was standing behind me. I'll never forget it. He was like, "Do you like your job?" I was like, "Yes." It's like, "You ever fucking play hip hop again in one of my places, you will never work in Harrisburg again." I was like, all right. Jesus. Like, scary. But he was like, he was the only one, like, I had a thing with, like, I was doing every Friday, Saturday for him. So, he kind of had me. Thursday,
Yeah,
Friday,
no, I
Saturday,
mean,
actually.
like, I worked every other place except his bars, but it was just because,
Gotcha.
like, at the time, like, we ended up getting to have a good relationship because I never worked for him, like, in that capacity, but I worked so much everywhere else that, like, I was never anything personal against him. He just never paid, like, I was getting paid way better at all the other bars. So I was like, sorry, bro. Like, and I heard all the horror stories. Every DJ I knew was like, yo. And I had one of my own with him. And I was like, all right, that's it. Like, I'm not, like, I don't want to put myself through that. Like, when you're DJing, like, scared all night, like, you're not having fun. You're in your head. Like,
It was
you can't
tough.
really, like,
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I know guys that did it and there's one guy that's still there doing it. Shock D, he's still working for him. And, like Ron's a smart businessman. Like he, I'll say that for sure. But it was much more fun to like not have people breathing down your neck and DJ literally like the next building over and get paid more money. So I was like, well, I'm gonna do that. Like it's no shade at all on him. Like I see him now and I'm like, hey Ron, like if I ever go back to Harrisburg and like happen to walk by the street and be like,
Yeah,
he's always around.
He's always around. You'll never know. He just blends right in.
He's always just standing somewhere. Like
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Shouts to him. I mean, it was cool because I was like, I was a nobody, and like he, I got signed up. Like he would pay me a salary every week. And I would basically, I'm not talking, so back then it was $700 a week, which is fucking great money. And we're talking like 2014, but like I was on the hook Thursday, Friday, Saturday, except for whatever weddings I had booked. He let me off for that, but I wasn't allowed to book any more for the season. And if it rained, I was the main guy at Sawyer, so I would do Sawyer's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If it rained, he might put me at somewhere else, or I get the day off and I still get paid, which was cool. And it was tough not playing hip hop, but it really made me really dig deep for other stuff to play. And that actually, doing that for 2 years, working for him, like that was my 10,000 hours, to be honest with you, as far as like mixing. Like I've already done like so many weddings, but like that like really allowed me to do my 10,000 hours. So I still like, I appreciate it, but it wasn't easy at all. And then I would hear about you guys, because you guys were always like doing that. You guys were doing Arugas and Level 2 and all like the cooler quote unquote kind of places, I guess. And you guys can play whatever you want. And I'm hearing you guys are making all the money, and I was like, one day.
no, like I think back then, bro, like. Oh man, I think it was like I think it was like between like $400 and $500 for Harrisburg, which was like
That's solid though for back then, you know.
for one night
Per
Yeah,
gig,
dude.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like that, and I definitely know it was at least $400 back then. And so there was definitely times though when we would get more, like I don't know. And then like you'd have the St. Patty's Day weekends down there. Like it was good. Like I mean, dude, like I was figuring out like you. I was just a little
The
bit
parade.
farther ahead. Yeah, and that was the DJ Ooch era of Nick Spinelli, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Everyone hated me too because like I was trying so hard. I was 22 years old. I was trying so hard to like make it in the club scene, like because weddings were so like I was embarrassed to be a wedding DJ, and that's like kind of how I started. And I was trying so hard to make it in the club scene. And then like one day, Kevin, DJ Hi Kevin, if you know who that is, right? You know Hi Kevin. He he would design my posters for me. And when year 2, when I went to do the Sawyer's residency again for the second year that summer, he made a poster and it said, and he put Harrisburg's #1 DJ, DJ Ooch.
Oh,
And I'm on sitting the poster. And to this day, I've heard so many other DJs who I'm not friends with know very well everything. You know what I mean? Like times change, but they, told me later on, like afterwards, like, yo, we were pissed about that. We did not like that at all. And I totally get it. I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I cringe. I'm like, oh, why would I even allow that to be on? Do you remember that?
Because
everyone was talking about it. From what I hear, everyone was like, fuck this guy. And I get it totally. I don't know. You're young and dumb. You make mistakes. I should have never, I wouldn't say ever that I'm #1 anything ever. Like I hate that. But
there's people still doing that now though. Like like self-anointing is a problem still. Like you see it all the time. Like there's local people that like have given themselves some sort of title, and you're like, what? Like that's not your place, bro. Like, or whoever it is, it's like
you don't see the big picture when you're young. You know what I mean? Like it's just like you try so hard and you want to like kind of fake it till you make it almost, and
because they get now with the internet, like I've seen some of those things like end up in DJ forums, and people are like, "Yo, who the fuck?" It's like they go in like
I can't imagine. There's got to be a forum talking shit on me somewhere. There's got to be.
No, like. I've never seen that, but I've definitely seen like recently like people that have like self-anointed titles. Like there's people that are just within the like tri-state area, like like with screenshots. Like you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Like I've never heard of him in my life. Like blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, it's probably not the best idea to come out of the gate like as a young DJ and be like, I'm this. Like
yeah.
I'm the best. I'm, geographically this, the dopest this, or, give yourself some other corny crown or whatever it is. It's like.
And it hurt me because I never made friends until way, way, way later, when I started making videos and whatever, like, when life goes on 10 years later. But like I never worked outside of Ron in Harrisburg. When I stopped working for Ron, I moved back to Jersey and went full time being a wedding DJ, but I never had another never really made friends with anybody other in the, other DJs in Central PA or worked any other places until way later. And I think that was like a huge part of it, and a huge part of why like I dropped the Ooch and I just like, you know what? I'm just Nick Spinelli. I DJ weddings. I could do clubs too. And I just like, I got to get rid. And then I just like focused on like just getting good. And
why were you in Harrisburg? Were you going to school there? Is that how?
I went to LVC. I went to Lebanon Valley.
Oh, there you go.
And then,
okay.
And then after I graduated there, I stayed in I stayed in Anvil for another 2 years, where the college is. So like I chilled there for 2 years, and then like in late 2014, I got an offer from a company in South Jersey to come full time. I was doing gigs from already, like weddings and stuff, and then they're like, listen, you come work in the office, we'll give you a salary working in the office doing sales, plus you do the weddings on the weekend. And then that was like, I was really lucky to get that, because like that was, some people take a jump and they're just doing it just on gigs and just like, all right, really risking it for the biscuit. I had like a salary plus gigs. So it was just a no-brainer for me to say, all right, I'm going to go full-time DJ now, and then that's why I moved back to Jersey, and then, really put my nose to the grindstone after that.
Yeah, that makes sense then. But yeah, definitely, that probably hurt a little bit in retrospect, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you live and you learn, man, And then now you have these great resources People learn from my mistakes. I'm an open book. If anybody watched my show, I've told every mistake. I talked about this weekend in the table I couldn't get dancing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just an open book. Like, you just learn from my mistakes. That way you don't got to make them, because a lot of growing pains that can be happening out there. What, by the way, what was it? Did you got any good stories? What's biggest mess up at an event or something? Anything anything traumatize you? Anything kind of like weigh on your soul? Like, oh my God, I wanted to die when this happened.
Shoot. Oh man, let me think of something. There's got to be one. I mean, I've had mishaps, but like not a ton of them were like my fault. Like the one New Year's, somebody sprayed champagne all over my stuff, and I was using vinyl, so
sticky.
It was in Harrisburg, by the way. So it was like all over my stuff. So that was terrible. This one time, this is terrible, really bad. This makes me cringe. So I did a wedding, and it was a very like backyard, like I'll call it simple. Like me and you both get to do some like very extravagant weddings. Like, some of the clients spend exorbitant amounts of money. This was not one of them.
Okay.
It was at a fire hall, and nobody decided to tell me that somebody in the wedding party had just passed away, like recently in a fire, because there was a fire company group of firefighters, right? So, this makes me my soul hurts when I think about this. So, like middle of like the wedding, this like touching moment happens, and like the parents of the parents of the person who passed away had his helmet, and they wanted to present it to the bridal party, like to the couple.
Okay.
So like it was like this moment of like, it was supposed to be like celebratory, but I forget what I was doing. They just decided to like come up and do this, like without telling me what it was. Like I thought I was gonna give them a gift. Like they just said, we have a gift, and I was like, oh cool. So I'm like, yeah, like jolly, whatever, wedding. They do this. The somberness in the room was like palpable. Like it was like dead silent. Like they handed the helmet of the fallen firefighter to that. Everybody's bawling, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I supposed to recover from this? Like it was like, I got me all choked up, and like a couple minutes go by. I'm trying to get them like back into go eat, and my dumbass said something that I will never ever live down. I said something to the effect of like, ladies and gentlemen, you can now go like go to your serving stations or something like that. Like I said something like I don't even want to say it out loud. I said something like don't all rush and kill each other to get there, or something like that. Oh, it hurt. Oh, as soon as it came out, I wanted to be like, grab it.
Grab it, come back in. Unsend.
I was like, yeah.
Did people break their necks at you? Like kind of look back like
there was like one person that went like, ooh, like
Jesus.
I don't even like telling that story. Like I just was like,
and then you play fire afterwards. Fire.
It's so not funny. Like it's like the moment was like, I was like sort of upset because I was like, these are the type of things I need to know, because like if
so you can prepare yourself and like how you want to speak and everything. It was just so abrupt that it was like you didn't like.
I was so taken back and like just dumbfounded. Like I just didn't. I was, and like that's probably why my mind was not thinking. Like I was trying to like how do I get out of this? Like to get things back on track. And I don't know. I just made some dumb comment. Like I was just like, oh Jesus, like. It's still to this day like I totally forgot about that until you asked that question, but now I like.
Sorry to bring up these repressed memories.
Dude, it was so bad. Like I was like, It's like the feeling you get, when you get too drunk sometimes and like you wake up the next day and you're like, you have that feeling like, oh, what did I do? Like, it's like that feeling like permanently though. Like whenever I think about that, it's like that feeling comes to me like, what did I say last night? Like, I hope I didn't look like an idiot. Like, but it's like that feeling like all the time. You messed up. You're like, like.
How'd you handle it? Like, did you address it with the couple that day, or did you just kind of like keep it pushing? You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like,
they didn't really like
happen.
Yeah,
hope
they
you
didn't
hear
really. Yeah, not everybody heard it for sure, but like a few people did, and so they didn't like the bridal party didn't hear it for sure. But I was like, if somebody says something, like I'll own that shit. But
Sure.
I didn't even want to like bring it up because I'm like, hey, like, because then if I'm explaining it to them and like I have to explain it and they hear it for the first time, I like am double shooting myself in the foot by being like, hey, just so you know, this joke or whatever thing I said, like, they'd be like, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't hear that, but wow, thanks for saying that.
you fucking dick.
Yeah. I know, that's tough. That's but you live and you learn, and that's it, you know?
My face is turning red now just thinking about that. It's how embarrassed I am of that. It's so bad. So bad.
It's all right. I played a metal song during somebody's first dance. Don't sweat it. Yeah.
By accident?
Yeah. I left the channel up, had a song on the side computer, and I've told the story a bunch of times, but it's a metal song by The Plot and You, and it starts out with a phone ringing, and the girl and the guy's like, hello, and the girl's like, I'm pregnant, and then it, no, don't, and it just played like super loud. It took me 15 seconds to figure out where it was coming from, literally during the first dance. I wanted to die. I felt that this big, wanted to die. It was out in PA too, Central PA.
It's like the video. Have you seen the video of the DJ that was doing the bridal party or the bride's entrance down the aisle, and it's like in Canon D, and then like
and then it's like remixed for some reason, and she's like walking down the aisle like
it goes into like it's like a party rock anthem remix. It goes like dun, 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 dun. And she's like halfway down the aisle, and she's like.
Is that a Scooter Canon in the D to party rock segue? It's all your fault.
God dang.
No, I remember seeing that. That was a viral video that went, oh, could you imagine being the viral video of your like wedding getting messed up? Oh, God,
that's
I feel bad for the bride.
That's somebody
you don't see the DJ. I don't
Nope.
think in that video. You just see the bride's reaction. So the DJ gets away with it essentially.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, he's probably hiding up in the loft, like.
That's what, right? They used to put you upstairs.
In the choir, like where the choir is, he's just hiding up there.
What was that club in Harrisburg on 2nd Street where you had to go upstairs? That was crazy. That was still old style. I forget. They renamed it like 10 times. I think it's like Susquehanna Ale House now or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
It had a way up DJ booth. You could climb up the ladder.
That's the worst. There's another bar in Harrisburg. There was 2 of those in Harrisburg. I don't know why anyone thought that's a great idea to put a ladder to a DJ booth because the places weren't providing equipment back then. So like, I don't know how. Like, I would carry up one turntable at a time. Like, you'd be like up a ladder, and I don't know if you ever try to climb a ladder with anything heavy. It's impossible. So like, and not safe at all. So you'd have to climb up, like put one turntable up, put the other one up, your mixer. Push everything in there, and there was not enough room for any of that.
Absolutely brutal. That's what it was back in the day, though. Like DJs would be up, way up high, kind of out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, and then it slowly evolved. I think probably around the EDM era, where like DJs were more front and center and became like the thing. And now they're doing Phillies games, which you're about to dip to soon. I'm not going to keep you too much longer.
Yeah, brother.
Any final words or anything? I'm going to put all your, obviously, if you guys don't follow DJ Scooter at DJ Scooter on Instagram and all the things, I'll put your links and stuff. Directmusicservice.com for your edits, right? Exclusively, plus your Patreon. Your Patreon's a shit.
Yeah, I need to. I've been so busy. I need to do some more stuff on that. But yeah, Patreon /DJ Scooter. Definitely have a lot of stuff I don't post or like different edits that don't end up on other places. So check that out for sure. I got to shout out some not well, yeah, sponsors. I have a Popple sponsor, which is this wristband that I always wear. It's a great replacement to business cards. If you haven't seen my IG little spiel, rock that. You can just tap your phone and all your info comes up.
Popple.
There's that. Popple. I have a Screwball Whiskey sponsor, so shout out to them. They always hook me up, and they have good stuff. It's good.
Delicious.
Delicious. Shout out to AGI Pro DJ. Always. They got me my Rev 7 recently, so I want to shout them out. And the FOM. And who else? There's somebody else. There was another one I wanted to shout. Oh, 12-inch skins. They always keep me right. So I wanted to say.
I haven't heard about them in a while. 12-inch skins. I forgot about them.
Yep, I got Philly's laptop skins from them, and I got skins from my Rev 7 too recently. But I've been using them for a very, very long time, and they always put out quality stuff, and keep your gear looking right so that if you ever need to sell it, you can just take the stuff off and you got a mint piece of equipment under there, not a jacked up crossfader paint chip situation going on. So yeah, and shout out to the Phillies. Let's go.
Let's go Phillies. Let's go Phillies. Troll who they playing today?
Mets again.
Oh, Mets again. Yeah, troll the Mets. Troll the Mets. Let them know what's up. Go Phillies today. I'll watch the game. I'm gonna put it on now after, in a little later. I'll let you know if you're on TV.
I'll go download the Barney theme song real quick.
Dude, it's a banger. It's a banger.
Oh, I would have to use it in an edit for somebody to copy for TikTok.
I did. I mixed Barney with I mixed Barney with Bodak Yellow actually a couple of years ago. It was a mashup I did. Actually went pretty well. If you want to,
Hey, listen. There's what I need to do is I need to be back on TikTok. I haven't ever done it, but I mean, it's a lot. Man. It's a lot of time issues right now because I'm time poor. But I'm just even the old stuff I used to do. Like if I go on there and just do things I've already put out, like I feel like it'd be beneficial. So I tell people, TikTok is very valuable. So Nick is proving that. It's a case study on DJ TikTok. So Nick is a good,
especially with you, man, with your production, like your sounds, like if you come up with a really cool mashup, and even if you just like post a TikTok showing the Ableton part of it, and just going through the mashup, people will reuse that sound for their own TikToks, and I think that's where it can really go viral and grow. People just use my sound of the Britney thing, and I'm like scratching at the end, and like people are literally like duetting my sound and doing the wiki with my scratches, which is boggles my mind. I didn't think anybody would use a sound because of scratches. It's like unusable to me. So can you imagine if you had like a really sick a mashup that went viral which is a great idea. I wonder who thought of it. You might know, but it's is it Spice Girls and Down with the Sickness? Yeah, you tell me what, and then I don't know. It's something like that. It went viral all over TikTok. Everybody used that sound, and it was like almost like it went together so well. And whoever did it blew up on it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've seen that mashup or whatever.
No, I have, because another DJ hit me up and asked me to redo it, because the issue. Here's the thing with TikTok. Luckily for me, if I do something like that, most likely I'll be able to give it to the DJs eventually. But a lot of the stuff with TikTok is it gets popular and then you want to play it out, but the audio on TikTok is garbage. So what I end up doing is recreating some of these edits in long form for DJs that end up on either my Patreon or record pools, because there's been a bunch of them that have come out that I'm like, oh my God, this would kill in a club, but you're not going to rip it from TikTok because it sounds degraded audio to the point of it's below YouTube sometimes. So it gets reused so many times that the quality just isn't there for us as professional. So I've been trying to do that too. If something ends up blowing up, I'll be I'll reproduce it and then be TikTok, credit TikTok, whatever it is, because for our sake, it's
that's huge, man.
There's a lot of great ideas that I'm sure that we could use for our sets too, because everyone in the world knows it. It comes out and it's Oh, this thing, like you said, like everyone and their mother knows that now, like that Spice Girls
Crazy.
thing. A lot of DJs sent this to me, like, you gotta make this for us. Like, I want to play this. I'm like, oh, okay, like whatever. Spice Girls and Down with the Sickness. All right, that'll work.
Yeah. It's cool, man. That's what I'm saying. Huge opportunities on there. Any ideas? You got to just post it on TikTok, see what happens, bro. I can see you blowing up on there, you know?
Well, you're killing it, so shout out to you for that.
Trying, man. Trying. Appreciate you for coming on, though, man. Have fun
I
at
appreciate
the
you having
game.
me.
Tell Joe Girardi I said what up.
I will. When
We go way back.
When I'm calling out batting groups today, I'll be like, Nick Spinelli says, what up? Group 2 to the batting cage.
Who the fuck is that? So, poor man. Talk to you soon, man.
See you, buddy.
Thanks,
Have
brother.
a good day. See y'all.
You too, man.